So I want to ask you about, as the season winds down here, the last time we spoke, we talked a lot about Jacob Markstrom and the season he was having. As we're rounding towards the end of the season here, who should we keep our eyes on? Who should we be considering when it comes to the Vezina trophy?
I think like your winner's probably Connor Hellebuck, despite the fact that the Jets have started to leak a little bit in the last
Yeah.
few weeks. He's just been so steady, so good. And I guess the biggest thing for me is um, with no margins in tight games, tied games, 1-goal games. That's where most of his success has come. He has done a great job in those moments. That's where he's saved his, goals
Hmm.
saved relative to expected, right? Like that's where the majority of his are.
Yep.
But the reality is he's not leading the league in that category. He's third. Markstrom, despite coming back to the pack by about 5 goals, is second and number one in the National Hockey League right now. And if he gets them into the playoffs, not that that should necessarily be a standard, but if he gets them into the playoffs, like at this point, I would have him as a finalist. If he gets them into the playoffs, we need to start digging into the numbers a little more and seeing, where his performance ranks in some of those micro stats. And could he actually usurp Connor Hellebuck? That's Jordan Binnington. Binnington is at almost 28 goals saved above expected right now. That's 7 more than Connor Hellebuck at this point in the season. You
Yeah.
think about where the Blues would be without him. They're not a great defensive team. His expected save percentage for Jordan Binnington is 886, well below league average. Whereas a guy like Connor
Wow.
Hellebuck is at 895 expected. That's almost a 10-point swing just in terms of environment. And I think it's hardest at times to outplay a poor defensive environment for a long time. We've seen Binnington with a little bit of ups and downs, so great at the start of the season. But in the second half, arguably the best goalie in the NHL over an extended sample size. So kind of curious to see the way this finishes. And if it does finish with them in the playoffs, again, to me, he deserves votes right now, but maybe there's a deeper
Hmm.
discussion to be had depending on how the next 2 weeks goes, because Jordan Binnington has been the best by the math in terms of goals saved on the entire season, and arguably, one deserves to be in that conversation for sure.